Many thanks for making a date on the marketplace. Now, some traders whose shops were gutted by a fire at the Kumasi Central Market have started reconstructing their structures to resume business. At least 76 shops were razed down last Sunday night, the second at the same section of the market this year. The Ghana National Fire Service says preliminary investigation reveals faulty electrical appliances were the cause. As affected traders count their losses, Nana Sensu-Mensah has been interacting with some of them.
Yet another mysterious fire at Kumasi Central Market. 76 shops at the French line section of the market razed down and left owners devastated. Goods and perhaps cash worth millions of cedis have been lost as affected traders count their losses. Eyewitnesses say the fire began Sunday dawn and spread quickly through the enclave.
What we heard was 3 sounds like something explosion or explode. And as the thing exploded, at the end of it, the fire that came was very terrible. We did all that we could, but because this area was actually meant with woods, you know, it's not easy for you to quench or to off the fire easily. We are not having phones, but those that had phones by that time, they did their best to call the fire so that they can also come and do what they can do.
The second phase of the Kajetia market redevelopment is envisaged to decongest the market with relocation of traders to the newly constructed Kajetia market. Administrative protocols are, however, holding up the process as even registered traders at Kajetia are yet to complete occupation of new shops. Under the circumstance, those at the central market have no clue when they will be relocated. Traders say they can't wait for authorities because their livelihoods depend on their businesses at the market despite the perennial risk.
The reason why we are doing it right now, we don't know what to do, and we cannot sit down. We cannot sit down like that. So we are trying to manage and do something a little. We have children and we have wife, we have family. We are taking care of them. So we don't have anything to do. So we are just trying to see whether we can do some small things and started doing small and take care of our family and friends.
The traders are seriously reconstructing their sheds, which city authorities say obstruct the work of the fire service, even in investigation into the latest incident. Afia Kunadu speaks for the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly.
Ideally, they're not supposed to construct it. The sheds were constructed by KMA, so it behoves on us to reconstruct it. And because we know we're going to put the place down and then we work with reports, we cannot just go the next day and rebuild the sheds for them. We have to wait for the reports of NADMO and fire service, and then based on the reports, we can take a decision whether to reconstruct the sheds for them immediately or to hold on.
So, what's next for traders at Central Market? Completion of relocation for construction work to begin, or yet another unforeseen incident? Nana Sensu-Mensah reporting.
The Food and Beverage Association is hinting of possible hikes in the cost of beverages as far as Nigeria's land border with Benin remain closed. Executive Secretary of the Association, Samuel Agri, tells Joy Business with most raw materials of local manufacturers locked up in Nigeria, shortage of products in the market, which will increase demand, will subsequently shoot prices up ahead of the festive season.
The closure of the border has been a very serious concern. When there are shortages, unfortunately, people take advantage of whatever the situation finds itself. So most likely, products that are coming across the borders to Ghana, and you are no more getting it within a certain period. Those who have it will take advantage to also, as it were, increase their prices. But you see, in this country, when things goes up, it takes time for it to come back to its original value. So it's going to be a serious challenge. And obviously, if you look at it as it is now, most with time, if we are not able to address this situation as early as possible, then obviously what will happen is that people will start taking advantage of the situation. And we don't want this to happen.
When you say taking advantage, what do you mean?
Yeah, taking advantage in adjusting prices upwards, which will eventually affect the consumer.
Meanwhile, 2 Chinese nationals operating a beverage firm, Dada Food Company, have been arrested for tax evasion practices, including misinvoicing, under-declaring, and misleading. This follows some information picked up by the Informed Counter-Intelligence Unit of the Office of the Senior Minister and the GRA. 2 trucks loaded with beverages at the time of the arrest have been seized while investigations begin. Addressing the media before embarking on the operation, Acting Commissioner General Amishadai Amwa disclosed that all businesses involved in such practices will be dealt with according to law. My colleague Ebenezer Sabute was with the team and joins me in studio now for some more details. Ebenezer, so what was the itinerary for today?
So today's mission was so simple. To clamp down on tax evaders and also to whip up interest in the compliance. You know, we are in the last half of the year and the GRA is not able to still meet its target, even though the year has not been has not ended yet, but it is struggling to meet the target. So they are trying to whip up interest, that there's the need for us to pay our taxes. There's the need for businesses to file their tax returns, and that is why we went on the operations today.
So where did it take you?
So today we began at the airport area, where we went to some of the vehicles that the Ghana Revenue Authority, the Customs Division, seized them earlier as a result of tax evasion and all that. After that inspection, then we moved to Bong, where some 2 nationals, like you indicated, were operating some company, Dada Food Company. And the issue here is that they were misinvoicing. So if they were supposed to pay a tax of 10,000 cedis or 160,000 cedis, they will delete the 10 from it. So when they delete 10 from it, it becomes 160 cedis. Then the tax that they'll pay on the value becomes lower. So that's what they were doing.
That's
and
criminal,
yes. So over there, we met them, we accosted them, and then with the national security guys and then the people from the senior minister's office, they collaborated, and then they arrested them immediately.
So what did they say exactly? What was their response?
So their response was that they claim they don't know, but it's obvious. They claim they don't know that some of these things are criminal as prescribed by the law. But I think we may have to listen to the head of the task force unit, Henry Sam, who addressed us on this issue.
What we found was that the intelligence, counterintelligence unit of the office of the senior minister and then GRA gathered intelligence that Dada Foods Company Limited was not doing the right thing, was suppressing sales. So to speak, they were massaging figures on the original VAT invoice booklets to read something else other than the amount that had been indicated on the original. So on Saturday, we chanced on those transactions which were being carried to Central Region, I think Mankasim also, where you have 2 vans loaded with their products. But the values on the original VAT invoice booklets differ from the duplicate copies. What it means is that at the end of the day, I don't know, when they are accounting for the tax, they will dwell on only the duplicate copies which have lower values. We have arrested 2 Chinese nationals, the manager and then the sales girl. They are helping the police and GRA with their investigations.
Can you tell us their names?
Their names are Rose Chen is a sales girl, and then Zhang Zi, he is the manager. We have arrested them, and we are charging them for making false and misleading statements, suppression of sales, and then tax evasion. What we are going to do is that we have retrieved a total of 71 VAT invoice booklets, and then 15 waybills, together with other records, and then their tax returns that they have already submitted. We are going to subject same to a comprehensive tax audit, where there's a shortfall between what they declared and then what we will assess. We will subject it to 100% penalty, pursuant to Section 74 and 81 of the Revenue Administration Act, 2016 Act 915. We are also going to prosecute them for these offences that have been perpetrated against the state.
But we are a bit skeptical about this. Some of your officers also do come here to inspect them and all that. So how come they've not been able to identify all this, and they've been doing this for this time?
Yeah, this one, like I indicated to you, it requires intelligence. When our officers come for tax audit verification, they will only be privy to the duplicate copies. So unless you have an inside information, or for want of a better word, a third eye, to be able to get to know of and then understand the nature of the infraction, you will not be able to properly assess them.
So that was the head of the task force that embarked on the operation, the clampdown exercise this morning. Now, back to Eben. So what's the fate of these two nationals as of now?
So first of all, they've been detained. They were taken to the customs office at Jamestown. There they will start investigations and the necessary prosecution will start. So let me say that prosecution process has begun yes, already. And yeah, very soon we'll hear from the GRA on the other steps.
Now, will this exercise be replicated elsewhere?
Yes, so the task force, the head of the task force told us that this is not going to be a 9-day wonder, because they found out that many companies are doing this and there's a need for them to clamp down on them. They want to take out every debt that is in town that is supposed to come to the GRA, and they will do that to get it.
All right, thank you very much for that update. Ebenezer Sabote here with that report. Now, the premise of yet another defunct fund management company, Nordia Capital, was this morning besieged by customers to demand their investments. The aggrieved customers say all attempts to retrieve their monies over a year now have proven futile, as management of the company are nowhere to be found. Abraham Ohenijan is an investor.
We've come here as a group to find out what has happened to our funds. For over a year, we haven't had any communication, no dividend payments, and we can't get access to our funds. And the worst, I mean, like I said, the worst thing is that the MD of the company doesn't respond to anybody. So we've come here today to meet whoever is here, find out exactly where our deposits, our monies are, so that we can agree on a direction as to how we can retrieve our funds.
For how long have you saved with this company?
Over a year. My certificate expired in May, but from last September they haven't been able to pay any dividend. From last September right through to the term, the term of the investment, which was a year, and then up to now, my funds are still there and no money has been paid. With the group together, from the loose talk that everybody is saying, it's in the millions of cedis. Regular investment, you are giving an annual dividend. You put your it's bulk money. You're giving an annual dividend which can be paid at the end of the term or monthly. Now, for most of the people here, they are people who have worked for their money and they've put their monies there so that they can get a little bit of money at the end of every month to support whatever they earn to do their business or support their families and do whatever they need to do, which is this is exactly what I was doing. And most of these people haven't been able to receive any of these dividends. They can't get access to their money to do any business whatsoever, and they can't get any information as to where their money is.
Have you organized yourself to meet with SEC, the regulatory body?
From here, our intention is to go to SEC and also find out. Some of us have already complained to SEC with no response from SEC.
Now, time, they say, is the best judge to measure the impact of anything in life. But what about the production of oil and gas, also known as black gold? The following business desk report highlights how much in terms of total revenues have accrued to the state since 2011, when Ghana started lifting crude oil, and what are the basic facts about this?
After 10 years of oil and gas production in Ghana, the question that has remained on the lips of many is, how has the oil find or black gold benefited the ordinary man or Ghanaian? Ghana's upstream and midstream petroleum sector is highly regulated by the Petroleum Revenue Management Act 815/2011, which was amended in 2015, now Act 893. This law spells out how our oil revenue is collected, distributed, and managed in a manner that is fair to all people of Ghana. First, it must be known that all receipts from petroleum revenues are housed with the Bank of Ghana under the Petroleum Holding Fund. The law says the annual budget funding amount, that's ABFA, as its name suggests, is used to support the budget. GMPC also receives a portion as the nation's oil company. Ghana Stabilization Fund, GSF, is the cushion for public expenditure during unexpected declines in petroleum revenue, and the Ghana Heritage Fund, GHF, was to support the development of future generations when oil is depleted. As at the end of June 2019, Ghana had accrued a little over $5 billion since April 2011 from upstream oil sector. Too much or too little? Your guess is as good as mine. Keep your dials on Joy 99.7 FM and Joy News as we bring you the Joy Business Town Hall meeting on oil and gas on October 28th.
So, like you rightly heard, the Joy Business Oil and Gas Town Hall meeting is taking place at the Movenpick Ambassador Hotel on October 28. The program is supported by the Media Foundation for West Africa and First National Bank. Now let's move on to other stories. And government currently has a total debt stock of 205.5 billion Ghana cedis hanging around its neck. The International Monetary Fund at the just-ended IMF World Bank annual meetings in Washington, D.C. has cautioned government on the rising trend. But what exactly that these debt jargons mean and debt guarantees also mean? Philip Namfuri breaks it down.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Joy Business, breaking it down with me, Philip Namfuri. When we talk about government guaranteeing debt, what exactly do we mean? That's our focus for this segment and this discussion today. Now, anytime an entity within the economy, let's call it a state-owned enterprise, whichever one you want to call it, goes out to borrow a loan, sometimes the financial institutions require them to guarantee these loans. So you more often than not hear that government has guaranteed some debt of an entity, or let's take even the most recent Ghana Amalgamated Trust, the GAT. And we heard that the government was going to guarantee the funds that the pension funds were going to advance to GAT to give to the banks that were distressed or couldn't meet their minimum capital requirement. Now, when government guarantees a debt, all government is saying is that if the entity, for example, Philip is an entity going to borrow from a financial institution, and the financial institution requires me to guarantee that debt, government will come in and take that up. So that if I fail to pay, government will step in and make that payment to the entity. Now, some argue that when government guarantees a lot of debt in the economy, it feeds into our public debt, which stands at about 205 billion Ghana cedis plus. Now, you may be wondering what the difference between a collateral and a guarantee is. Let me try and make it a bit simple. A collateral is a good or an asset which you would advance towards a debt that you have failed to pay. So let's assume I go to a bank. The bank will use that, sell it off, and take the money which I owe them. But a guarantee, more or less, is if I sign in a document and I say, okay, so my colleague Karen Dodo has taken a loan, I, Philip Namfuri, I am signing. In case Karen doesn't pay back, I will step in and make good Karen's promise to the bank. So that's essentially the difference between a collateral and a guarantee. But government guarantees are good. They provide some comfort to investors, to financial institutions, to lend money and invest in the economy and even give money to entities. But it becomes a burden when they become too much and they form parts, or in the event that an entity fails to pay back, government has to step in and make that payment. Then it goes into the public debt. The public debt is divided into two main parts. Domestic debt, where government borrows from within the Ghanaian economy, and external debt. And then with the external debt, we can borrow from multilateral creditors, bilateral creditors, export credit agencies. We can borrow from the international capital markets. That's where we take our bonds, etc. from. And a range of sources. And even we can borrow from other international banks. That's one, we call it commercial credit. So government borrows domestic and external. But sometimes there is a need for them to guarantee some debt that some entities go for. And that's when government will step in, literally, and do this guarantee for them. So government guarantees, yes, necessary, but if we don't watch it properly, it may go out of hand, feed into our public debt, and which will obviously affect you and I in the long run, because when we have a lot of debt, a lot of our revenue goes into paying back these debts, leaving very little for capital expenditure, the tangible infrastructure projects we so desire to see. So that's essentially it for today's edition of Joy Business, breaking it down. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye. Now, cashew cultivation in Ghana continues to suffer some setbacks due to absence of the needed support in terms of policies to facilitate cashew development. Some challenges undermining effective development of the commodity include low producer prices, underdeveloped market structures, and inadequate industry. The Cashew Development Project CDP has commenced to help improve the business environment, while government plans to establish a tree crop authority to regulate the industry. In this report, JoyNews' Nesta Kafui Ajuma says major players in the cashew value chain are rather advocating a separate body to control the system. Just like the cocoa industry, where farmers are supported with inputs and implements, government is being asked to also support cashew farmers with farm inputs, which could help raise yields whilst lessening their burdens. Establishment of a cashew body to regulate the sale of raw cashew nuts and other related activities was a major promise by President Akufo-Addo prior to coming into office. During the launch of the 10-year Cashew Development Plan last year by the Cashew Industry Association of Ghana in collaboration with Ghana Export Promotion Authority at Wenchi, President Akufo-Addo further emphasized his government's commitment to establishing the board. Stakeholders of the cashew industry value chain, especially farmers, were elated about the president's reassurance. However, in a recent tour of the Bono region, President Akufo-Addo announced plans to establish the Tree Crop Authority instead of the proposed cashew board. According to the president, the Tree Crop Authority bill, when passed by Parliament into law, will take care of cashew, palm, coconut, rubber, coffee, and mango.
Cashew Tree Crop Development Authority. Say, and no at the Parliament, and in my Ababa says, she said, no. The son of Parliament, ye baby, sorry, no. Na and Radaba, ever made me a Tree Crop Authority. Authority no soon ever be fair. Cashew, ni mango, ni rubber, ni unina won punto. It's me, I am up and the air, I'm a cocoa. The cocoa board, the size of the Ababe, I'm a cashew production with a guaranteed price for what between my farmers, so in your idea when you listen to me and the cashew production, in your room, I walk cashew, you man, Uber Eba, Lubia. We are zero. Zabansu yes is ba beboa e ma cashew adwuma so etintimua mososo monya ho faso.
The Cashew Industry Association of Ghana, CIAG, has expressed disappointment about lumping up 6 plants under one board, whilst cocoa stands alone. Aaron Achia is Executive Secretary of the CIAG.
The President talked about the establishment of the board in June 2018. All of a sudden, we heard that they were going to have a tree crop board. That is, they were going to put all the tree crops together and then establish a board for all of them. I don't know if it was want of money. That's why they couldn't establish the cashew board. I don't know if it's because of money. That's why they cannot isolate the various crops. Well, on the point of SIAG, we think if the various commodities are separated or are isolated for their boards, I think a better job can be done. We heard that they had a consultative workshop of which we were part of it. But we also spoke our mind. We also said what we wanted to be done.
A lecturer at the University of Development Studies, Dr. John Akpareb, has been a key campaigner for the cashew board. He says the effort to make cashew industry a better one has gradually gained momentum.
I'm particularly happy because what we're pushing for is cashew. And if cashew is named amongst them, then it's good news for us. It is good to have something that is not very favorable than not to have it at all. Let it come into being. And thereafter we can pursue to have a split if they need be.
Some stakeholders are, however, describing the planned Tree Crop Authority as a disaster in waiting that will never promote the gains made by the cashew industry with support from the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. They are therefore calling for a reverse of the decision to introduce the Tree Crop Authority. Nesta Kafuya Jomen's report. And that's all we have for you by way of stories on the marketplace today. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. Have a good afternoon.